This is DC, powered by people and ideas, where the community comes together, voices are heard, and decisions are shaped.
So I want to start by saying, welcome home.
Connecting you to what matters and to each other.
How you doing? You know, what's the tea?
I'm Lorenzo Hall, and this is the DC Beat.
Welcome to the DC Beat. Good to see you. I'm Lorenzo Hall. We are heading into March, and this time last year, more than 27 of our neighbors were killed in DC. So far this year, that number is at 10. Overall, crime is down drastically. So what changed? Crime has been dropping for a few years now. Is it the work of the mayor, DC Council, and police chief, or is it because of President Trump's federal law enforcement surge and focus on DC crime, or perhaps some of both? Let's talk about it tonight. More than 100 of our neighbors signed up to speak at the DC Council's performance oversight hearing for MPD. It is underway right now. This is where the council gets to ask MPD about everything from police complaints to how it's spending money. A lot of the people who testified today want to know how exactly MPD is collaborating with federal agents.
My husband was shot and killed. My husband of 12 years. The U.S. Marshals. Julian Bailey was just 43 at the time.
Last spring, I helped order food, water, and toys to stock a room where families could hide if federal agents entered the school building. The thought that a member of our community might need to hide in an elementary school for days or weeks defies belief. What is more disturbing is that our police department, whose job should be to protect DC residents from the inhumane attacks of the administration, is working to harm those who are most vulnerable.
MPD's growing partnership with federal law enforcement has turned everyday policing into a pipeline of violence, especially against Black and disenfranchised residents.
Now, this hearing comes after Councilmember Brooke Pinto sent a letter to MPD asking for answers about its collaboration with the feds late last year. She said the response from MPD Interim Chief Jeffrey Carroll, it was just insufficient. Who's being arrested? Where are these agents being deployed? How are DC police officers working with federal immigration officers? Who will show up to your house when you call 911? We know the feds are still working alongside DC police for President Trump's Make DC Safe and Beautiful task force and Mayor Bowser's order issued in September of last year. Now, I spoke with Councilmember Pinto ahead of this hearing and just as she introduced a bill to get a better understanding of what exactly federal agents are doing in the district.
So what are you hoping to get out of this hearing?
Well, my responsibility remains to district residents and visitors to ensure that they are safe. And this week is a continuation of that effort. We're having a oversight hearing with MPD to discuss their performance over the last year, what federal interaction and coordination has looked like, how we're continuing to drive down crime and can continue to do so, interactions with young people, and what we need to do there. I also have introduced a new bill that provides more transparency for the public, which the public deserves, which does a couple of things. It requires that if MPD is on site of a scene where a federal agent engages in a use of force, then our body-worn camera footage has to be released to the public. It requires that any of these serious use of force incidents that have happened this year are noticed and that we're keeping a record of them. It requires that federal agents who are at our roll calls, we have a clear record of who is there and where those agents are being deployed. And it's a continuation of our oversight work that we've been doing all year and since my time on the council, but especially since we've seen the increase of activity from these federal officers in our city. It's why we held a hearing in December where we heard from over 100 witnesses. It was a 12-hour hearing, and a lot of these ideas came up at that hearing. We sent a follow-up letter to MPD signed by all of my council colleagues, asking them a lot of these questions and what this coordination looked like and how many agents are here. The response we got was frankly unsatisfactory and didn't answer a lot of the questions. And so we sent performance oversight hearings to MPD and we got their response this week, which to a number of the federal questions said that they did not collect information in this way. And so this bill is an effort to really make clear We have to be collecting information in this way, not for information's sake, but to ensure that the public and the council has transparency into what that collaboration looks like and how we can take steps forward to keep every district resident safe in our city.
Your take on this collaboration so far? As you mentioned, these federal agents are there during roll call. They're going out with some DC police officers, but a lot isn't being noted in terms of where they are and what they're doing. So, yes, this bill would address some of that, but this partnership or this collaboration will clearly continue for a while. Yeah.
Well, look, DC is unique in a lot of ways. In every administration, we always work with the federal government on things like getting illegal guns off the street and getting drugs off the street and pursuing investigations with the FBI and ATF and other agents. That work is a regular part of our public safety apparatus here in Washington, D.C., given our unique status as the nation's capital. What we have seen, though, from this president and over the last 6 months is different. We have seen National Guards being deployed from states all across America. We have seen HSI agents who are here, who are handling immigration enforcement, go out and really terrorize many of our community members who are doing their best to live a productive and safe life. And so while we don't have oversight directly of the federal agents, it's really important that here in DC, we work closely with our Metropolitan Police Department to ensure that we're tracking information closely, that we know where agents are being deployed, and that we're following up and having public input if there is serious use of force, which is not a good outcome for anyone, and something certainly we want to avoid.
I think Julian Bailey, who was shot by U.S. Marshals, and the response from some of my DC police sources, some members in the community, they say, had DC police responded to this incident, perhaps there could have been some sort of de-escalation. Again, still not knowing what led to those fire marshals firing the shots, but they say that there's a different level of accountability. Even reaching out to the U.S. Marshal Service, the response is, we have no comment. We cannot comment on ongoing investigations. So in terms of accountability, it just seems like at this point, getting some of those questions answered, it's not there.
Exactly. And my heart breaks for his family and the community who's reeling, wanting answers and wanting to understand what happened with this loss of life. Our police department in Washington, D.C. is the best trained department in the country. We have extremely high standards for becoming a Metropolitan Police Department officer, standards that I know is an honor to our officers who serve every day to protect the public. We have body-worn cameras that they're required to wear. We have very strong protocols in place to build community trust and to provide for the well-being of the entire public, whether someone is being policed or building a relationship with the police department. That's a really important element of our public safety. And so when we have federal agents in DC who don't go through that level of training, don't have that level of accountability if something happens, it undermines our public safety goals here in Washington. And that is not right because, again, our greatest responsibility as a government is to ensure everyone's safety. And so it should be something that everybody can get on the same page about.
Before I let you go, I want to ask you about immigration enforcement. I know early on when Mayor Bowser issued her order, she said that the DC Police Department would not be collaborating with ICE. She kept pointing out ICE. But I also noticed in the response from MPD ahead of this hearing, they said in terms of immigration enforcement, there are some federal agents from different agencies carrying out immigration enforcement. So there appears to be some sort of loophole there, if you will. What's your take on that?
So, our local Metropolitan Police Department does not handle civil immigration enforcement. As you may recall, when the mayor sent her budget down to the council last year, it removed some protections that we had in place around communication when folks were being transported or in custody. I put those protections back in place throughout the budget process to make crystal clear that it is the position of our government not to have MPD in any way or DOC collaborate or work with immigration enforcement on the civil side. as you note, what has been very alarming to me and so many of our residents is we have many federal agents now who have been deputized to handle immigration enforcement in DC. And that's again where our lens through our local police wearing their body worn camera footage is going to continue to be really important here. So we can see what is going on and have insight into how to keep our residents protected and safe. But the position of this administration on how they're handling immigration enforcement is wrong. It has been barbaric. And it is not acceptable. And it's not how we operate here in DC, where we value all human life. We value our immigrant communities who make incredible contributions to all of our neighborhoods. But it is not also the way we handle due process. If somebody has a warrant out for their arrest or is being pursued for a serious reason, there's a process to do that. You can't just be going to someone's home without a warrant. And that's what we've been seeing from this administration, and that's not acceptable.
Pinto, we appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thanks, Lorenzo. Great to see you.
All right, so a lot of people also sounding off about this tonight, DC's taxes. So Congress says DC cannot opt out of the tax cuts in President Trump's one big beautiful bill. Republicans say DC residents would get more of their money back, but local leaders say the city would lose hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue over several years. DC Attorney General Brian Schwab is challenging the move, saying Congress missed a critical 30-day deadline. Also, that Potomac wastewater spill. DC Water is holding a meeting right now at DC Water headquarters to answer your questions. They insist, I need to point this out, our drinking water is still safe. Now the talk is all about money and who will pay the estimated $20 million price tag for repairs. The federal government has agreed to pick up 75% of the costs. And President Trump's State of the Union address is also the talk of the town tonight.
In fact, crime in Washington is now at the lowest level ever recorded, and murders in D.C. this January were down close to 100% from a year ago.
All right, so as of tonight, the actual number is 63%, but I want to keep talking about this a bit more. Joining me now to discuss is D.C. at-large council candidate Gregory Jackson, a longtime gun violence prevention advocate and former deputy director of the White House Office of Gun Violence Prevention. Gregory Jackson, thank you for being here with us.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it. All
yes,
right,
sir.
So let's get started with the President's State of the Union address last night. First of all, did you watch?
Yeah, I watched some of it. It was tough to stomach.
What did you make of his comments about D.C.? He talked about the safety of our streets to a national audience, an international audience, if you will.
Well, I think he just greatly mischaracterized what's happening in the district. Of course, we have our struggles, as any community does, but we've seen a 30% reduction in violent crime over the last few years. And I think we can, we're on the right path when it comes to reducing violence and violent crime. But this is, frankly, an opportunity where I hope the president would look at investing in our communities as opposed to villainizing and really demonizing the people of our district.
Now, we have seen this drop in crime over the last couple of years. So who gets credit for that? Does he get any credit for what we're seeing right now in the district?
No. Frankly, in 2022, we passed the first law on gun violence in 30 years, the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act, and I was one of the architects of that. President Biden actually moved forward 54 executive actions and invested $42 billion into public safety. And so the trend of violence reduction nationwide started 3 years ago. So we're still seeing kind of the coattails of that. But for Trump to take credit for that because of his militarization of our streets is really unfounded. I mean, you can look at places like Detroit, Miami, New York City, all are seeing historic reductions. Newark, New Jersey had 17 homicides last year. I mean, these are communities that are seeing historic reductions without the National Guard, without ICE and federal intervention.
Now, you grew up in this city. You know how tough the streets can be sometimes. You were impacted back in 2013.
Yeah.
What do you make of his comments when he's talking about the district the way he does? How does that hit you? How does it resonate with you?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's hard because I think what we have done for too long is we've looked at our neighbors as a problem and not the potential and the opportunity to thrive and to support each other. And I think when we look at someone like Trump who villainizes our communities, I mean, he called Ward 8 a slum, and I've been there for now 12 years. It's really a smack in the face at the people who have built this great city and frankly the district wouldn't be so beautiful if it wasn't for all of us that invested in it over the years.
Yeah, you're running for at-large council member.
Yeah.
Tell me about that decision. What led you to that?
Yeah, I mean, there's three big things that led me here. One, I'm a survivor of gun violence. I was shot in 2013, as you shared. But since then, I lost 5 of my mentees to gun violence. And even when I served in the White House under the Biden administration, my home was shot up 16 times.
16 times?
16 times. So imagine that phone call. You're sitting in the West Wing, and you get a call from your neighbor that your house has been shot up. And it's just a reminder that no matter what we're doing federally or nationally, if home is not safe, then we're missing the mark. Secondly, this has become the most intensely gentrified city in the country. And I've lost numerous neighbors that have been moved out because they couldn't afford or they couldn't keep their mortgage. And it just broke my heart to watch my neighbors leave and to see the city shifting away from the folks who built it. So that pushed me to run. And then lastly, we're failing our youth. You know, of my mentees, one of the biggest challenges was how do we make them ready for the real world? And in DC, you know, 33%, only 33% of our youth can read proficiently in the 8th grade. And we also found that even the ambitious ones that go off to college, right, 18% of them graduate. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
So you go to college and only 18% graduate. Yeah. And so we're just not preparing our youth for the future. And so all of that drove me to run. I wish it was a decision based on ambition, but it's really more based on the crisis that our district is in.
Let's go back to 2013 real quick, telling the folks what happened then when you were shot. What were the circumstances surrounding that moment for you, that life-altering moment?
Yeah, I mean, I was walking home with my cousins. We were leaving like a big dinner and an after party for my cousin. He was getting married, so this was like his big night, right? His big bachelor party night. And we literally walked past these 2 guys that were arguing over something pretty petty, but one pulled out a gun and shot me. And he thought I was part of the altercation. I wasn't. I was just walking around him to get to my car. But, you know, we think of, you know, shootings like the movies, like, oh, you know, you get shot and shake it off. But no, one bullet hit 2 arteries for me. I'll never forget arriving at the hospital, and they told me I had a 50% chance of living. I survived that first night, but I went through 6 months and 6 different surgeries in and out the hospital. And I had to learn how to walk again, and lost my job. I lost my apartment. And it was really earth-shattering. And throughout that entire experience, I really saw firsthand, you know, what so many families are going through. When I was shot, 500 people were getting shot a year in this district. And so now, since 2013, we literally have thousands of families that have suffered, been impacted directly, or lost a loved one. And the district just frankly has not done enough to support them.
Yeah, it just terrorizes neighborhoods too.
Yeah.
It impacts so many lives. So you mentioned 2016, your house being shot up?
That was 2023.
2023, rather, excuse me, shot up 16 times.
Yeah.
What happened with that? Like, what was all about?
Apparently there was an altercation across the street, and there was a drive-by shooting. All I know is I have bullet holes through my glass.
If you
in
were
my
home
brick.
at the time, could you imagine?
Right. And so it's scary what we're going through, and I think anyone who lives in a district has similar experiences. But I'm here running because that's not how it needs to be. Like what we're seeing right now is not just business as usual. This is a unique problem to the district. And cities across the country have figured out how to solve this crisis. We're looking at Baltimore that's now safer than the district. Boston only had 30 homicides last year. Cities across the East Coast are seeing historic reductions, and they're making violent crime rare. Frankly, and we can get there, but we have to adopt the best strategies. We have to invest in prevention, but we also have to invest in accountability, and not just on that 14-year-old that has a gun, but who actually put that gun in their hand, and how do we crack down on trafficking? I mean, there's only one gun store in the district, and we found that 95% of guns that are showing up at these violent crime scenes are coming from outside of the district. So our strategy has to be regional, and we have to think upstream, and I'm excited to bring that to council.
So what was the one moment, what led you to run for council? Was there a pivotal moment that you said, you know, this is it. This is what I have to do?
Oh, man. Well, last year I testified before Congress 4 times. I was the first member of the Biden administration that testified against Trump. And one of those was testifying on violent crime in the district. And watching members of Congress and folks on Pennsylvania Avenue really paint this horrible picture about our neighbors was just the straw that broke the camel's back for me. Knowing that my neighbors, my mentees, my friends, my family, all that we've done to be supportive and to help each other and to grow and thrive and love this city, and to watch really outsiders and billionaires, you know, paint this picture of us so negatively, it broke my heart. And I had to decide, you know, do I sit back and watch this and just tweet or text about it or post it on social media, or do I step up and fight? And I decided to fight. And this council run is part of that, but we need strong leaders to not just live in the district and comment on what's happening, but we need folks to step up to take on roles to protect our budgets, to protect our freedoms, to protect our resources, and to make sure that we have the right laws in place.
Because we know Congress is not done. So how do you navigate those waters with fellow council members if you are elected?
Yeah, I mean, look, I've worked with now over 60 members of Congress in my career. Many of them are endorsing me in my run. And I think the way that we combat this era is that we have to build political power. We shouldn't just run to Congress when our budget is in jeopardy. We should have relationships on both sides of the aisle that understand the priorities, that agree, that are aligned with what we want to see done in this district, and recognize that members of Congress are residents too, right? Most of them live here more than they live in their own districts, right? And so we have to build those relationships and build that power. And that's something I've done for years. That's why I was able to help pass the first law on gun violence in 30 years. And I think that's what council has to do, is not look at themselves as an opponent or opposite or even different from Congress, but that we're all one ecosystem that's working to make this district great.
You spent some time at the White House, you spent time up on the Hill.
Yeah.
Using your crystal ball, what do you think is next? What is Congress trying to do here when it comes to DC and their meddling? What do you think is next? What's the end game?
Unfortunately, this district has become a petri dish for a lot of different ideas. And I think we have to realize that there's a lot of experimentation happening on our residents as far as policies and laws and resources. And what we have to do is fight back to ensure that we have leaders in place that are protecting our values, our interests, and frankly, our well-being. I mean, we have families here, we have students here, we have neighbors here, and we are, at the end of the day, we are citizens of this country that deserve the same rights as everyone else. And so right now, I think with Congress, they're looking at us as a political chess piece and not a community that needs to be served, and we can shift that.
Yeah, so obviously you're going to need a strong mayor if you are on the council. Is there someone you're looking at right now who's running, or someone who hasn't put their name in the hat yet to run that you would like to see as the city's next mayor?
Well, look, I mean, as city council member, my number one job is to hold the mayor accountable. And so I think of the candidates that have already announced, I see strengths in multiple. And so there's not anyone particular I'm standing with, recognizing that regardless of their strengths and weaknesses, council has to make sure that they're on their job the same way Congress is holding Trump accountable, or should be, right? And so don't have.
I noticed that. That was loaded.
Right, should be, right? And so I'm right now I'm making an effort to build a relationship with everyone that's running, but recognizing that we are two parts of the system, and it's important for me to hold them all accountable equally.
And what does that mayor need to possess? What sort of qualities in your mind?
Yeah, I mean, in these times, we need someone that's a steady hand at the wheel, that understands how to govern and lead our district. We need a mayor that really can attract more resources, because we know the federal government and frankly the Trump administration has cost us a lot of dollars in our district. We need someone who understands the real issues that our district is facing around public safety, housing, education, and really building more jobs and opportunity in our district. And so if we can have someone, ideally, that can govern effectively, that can attract more resources and more opportunities to the district, but also can stay aligned with the priorities of the everyday Washingtonian, I will be so excited to work with them.
Okay, Gregory Jackson.
Yes.
Candidate at large council. We
Yes,
appreciate
sir.
it. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, time now for We the People of DC. We know the real heartbeat of this city is its people. Good, thoughtful, innovative people. I want us to get to know our neighbors a bit better. The ones who go out of their way to lift us all up and make this city really feel like home. Tonight, let's meet Gus Nathanson.
Guys, it is finally happening. We are starting a run club. Welcome to...
Yeah, you hear that little go-go back there too? Gus is on a mission right now to connect with more of his neighbors.
You know, we see this run club you're starting. You clearly have a love for go-go. So tell me how this all came about. Why do you love it so much?
Honestly, my content is a love letter to Washington, D.C. Living here and having grown up in the area, this city is home. And I wanted to, do something that really reflects my love for the city and kind of brings together people who share that. So yeah, so I started this series where I run through different DC neighborhoods, kind of showcasing all the beauty and the vibrance in each one, as well as kind of showcasing DC's rich culture. I kind of obviously growing up in the DMV, I'd hear go-go music at Nats games and stuff like that. But kind of as I've kind of immersed myself more and more, I've been listening to it more, kind of learning more about the history and all the different bands. And yeah, and it's for one thing, it's incredible music to run to and to exercise to. It's upbeat, it's uplifting. To put it colloquially, it really gets me going. And yeah, it's been a really incredible journey, just kind of learning more about the history and culture of DC, exploring DC's incredible neighborhoods, and really bringing people together who kind of share my passion and my love for the city.
One neighborhood that you've been to that if you weren't running, that really just surprised you in terms of the people, its beauty, or anything that stood out?
Um, I don't know if I can choose just one, but I will say one moment that really stood out to me in particular is the first time I ran through Anacostia. I ran up to the Frederick Douglass House, and it's not a place that I'd ever been to before. It wasn't a place that candidly I knew a whole lot about, but Frederick Douglass is someone who obviously I admire greatly. His autobiography is one of my favorite books, if not my favorite book, just in terms of the brilliance of his writing and the way he was able to turn his tormented life as a slave into something so powerful and so uplifting and inspiring. So being able to run up to the Frederick Douglass House and just kind of have that poignant moment of reverence for the man that he was and his legacy, and just so much that we still have to fight for and advocate for today. It was an incredible moment. And also just the views from up there are just incredible, especially like in Southeast DC, especially in Ward 8. Those hills can be a challenge to run up, but some of the views you get, especially like in the Berry Farm and Hillcrest area, and in Randall Highlands, it's just the views you get from those areas are just incredible, and something that I was really privileged to be able to experience.
What have you learned about yourself in this process? How have you changed at all? Have you noticed something about you and how you operate?
Yeah, I think I'm definitely more mindful of just the way that I interpret and perceive things. I think a lot of the places that I'm running through, personally, I didn't know a whole lot about going in, so I think it's really taught me to just be open to what um, all there is to learn, just both in DC and in general. And I think just kind of learning about the different neighborhoods in DC and the vibrant culture in the communities, and just kind of interacting with people. It's just there's so much to learn just by putting yourself out there and experiencing. And that's kind of what I've been doing. And the experience that I've gotten from that firsthand has been really incredible. And it's really taught me just to continue to be open, continue to put myself out there, and to continue to, just appreciate everything that both his city and in general that life has to offer.
All right, thank you, Gus. So the DC Go-Go Groovers, the first run is Saturday, March 14th. Hit Gus up. When we come back, let's end on a high note, huh? The DC clothing brand that has a lot of us beaming with so much pride tonight. All right, so let's wrap this up on a high note right now. This week, a DC-based Black-owned business is helping us show love for the city year-round. My shout out for the week goes to Bailiwick Clothing, scoring again, this time for Black History Month. So they teamed up with the Washington Capitals on these custom jerseys you're looking at. The red Screaming Eagle just pops with that red, green, and yellow. The accents there honoring Black history and the Caps' commitment to diversity. And you know my favorite detail here? The back of these jerseys featuring DC's boundary stones. Benjamin Banneker, a Black astronomer, mathematician, inventor, and surveyor. The list goes on. He helped lay out the original boundaries of the capital city back in 1791. So that right there, it is more than a jersey. It is DC's story worn with pride. Bailiwick, keep telling it. That does it for the DC Beat this week. Thank you for giving me some of your time. The greatest gift. I'll see you here next Wednesday.